welcome to day 2 of week 4 of identifying functions from tables. So yesterday what we did is we talked about linear functions and how the first difference is always the same. And when I talk about the first difference, I mean the x numbers have to be going up by the same increment and the y values are the same when you're trying to go up from them. Then we talked about absolute value functions, and their first difference was the same number, like they're both 2, but it's positive and negative 2. So first difference, the exact same number linear. First difference, same number in quotes, but positive and negative of that number. Okay? So what we're going to do about today is talk about quadratic functions. Okay? So we know what the first difference is, but now we're going to talk about the second difference. Okay, I told you on your homework last night, find the first difference for all of them. All the ones that are the same, linear. All the ones that are same number, but different signs, absolute values. And then the other ones, hold off, we'll talk about them. So we're going to talk about quadratic functions today. So quadratic functions are when the second difference, okay, so what's meant by second difference? So you have to find the first difference first, and then it doesn't make any sense, so then you got to find the second difference. So the second difference is the same number. So the second difference is the same number. This is very similar to linear. Like linear, the first difference is always the same number. So quadratic, it's not the first difference, it's the second difference is the same number. So let's see what that looks like, okay? So we're going to look at number 2 for this problem. So we're going to come down here to number 2 and look at this problem for quadratics, okay? So I'll make this a little bit bigger. So let's talk about the things. So these x values are all increasing by 1, so we're good to go, so we can look at the y values. So let's first find our first difference. Okay, this is our first difference. So from here to here is what? -9. Okay, and then from here to here is what? -3. From here to here is +3. So we're just saying, how do I get from -3 to -12? And then how do I get from -12 to -5? And so forth and so on. For how do I get from -12 to -3? That's going to be a +9. How do I get from -3 to 12? That's going to be a +15. And then from 12 to 33, what's that going to be? That's going to be 21, I believe. So right now, our first difference is -9, -3, 3, 9, 15, -21. So that's not the same number, so it's not linear. And it's not the same number in opposite signs, so it's not absolute value. So it's got to be something else. So let's find then our second difference, okay? And we'll do that in a different color. So our second difference, what you do is, you take the first difference and find the difference. So how do I get from -9 to -3? Well, I add 6. And how do I get from -3 to 3? I add 6. How do I get from 3 to 9? I add 6. How do I get from 9 to 15? I add 6. How do I get from 15 to 21? I add 6. So even though my first difference had nothing in common, when I find my second difference, they're all the same number. So because they're all the same number, okay, so my second difference is the same. It's going to be same number. That means that number 2 is a quadratic. If I was going to graph number 2, it would turn into a U. Okay? So if I was going to graph this, it would turn into a U. Okay? So that's how you find a quadratic. So what I suggest you do tonight is go back. You have all your linears identified on your homework. You have all your absolute values identified in your homework. Now, when the first difference wasn't the same, now I want you to find the second difference of all the problems you're not sure what to classify them. On any of those that you see the second difference is the same, you now know they are a quadratic function, so put quadratic. And you're going to say, love or check. What about the ones that aren't the first difference the same, or opposite sign, same number, or the second difference is the same? Tune in tomorrow and we'll talk about exponential functions. If you have any questions, come on to Zoom, email me. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for stopping by.